Captain Elena Rodriguez stared at the bright screen in front of her. The lights blinked and flashed in patterns she had never seen before. Her heart beat fast as she watched the alien ship float outside her window. It was huge, bigger than any building on Earth. The metal surface looked smooth and shiny, like liquid silver flowing in space. "Captain, we're getting another message," said Lieutenant James Park from his seat at the communications desk. His voice shook a little. Everyone on the bridge felt nervous. This was the first time humans had ever met aliens. Elena walked over to James and looked at his screen. Strange symbols moved across it, changing colors from blue to green to yellow. The computer was trying to translate the alien language, but it was taking a long time. "How long until we understand what they're saying?" Elena asked. "The AI says maybe 10 more minutes," James replied. "It's learning their language patterns." Elena nodded and walked back to her captain's chair. She thought about how this moment would change everything for humanity. 6 months ago, her ship, the UES Discovery, had been exploring the far edge of human space when they detected the alien signals. Now they were face to face with beings from another world. The alien ship was beautiful and scary at the same time. It had no sharp edges or rough surfaces. Everything curved and flowed like it had grown instead of being built. Strange lights moved under its surface, pulsing like a heartbeat. Elena wondered what the aliens looked like and if they were friendly. "Captain, the translation is ready," James called out. Elena hurried back to his station. On the screen, words appeared in English. The message read, "Greetings, new species. We are the Zephyrian Collective. We claim dominance over this sector and all species within it. You will submit to our authority and accept our rule over your territory." Elena felt her blood turn cold. The aliens weren't here to be friends. They were here to take over. She thought about Earth, about all the people who lived there, her family, her friends, everyone she had ever known. "That's not right," she said quietly. "Run the translation again." James typed on his keyboard. "I'm checking it now, Captain. The AI is confident this is correct." Elena read the message again. The words seemed clear. The aliens wanted to control human space. They wanted humans to obey them like slaves. She thought about all the wars humans had fought for freedom. She thought about all the people who had died so others could live free. "Send a reply," Elena said, her voice getting stronger. "What should I tell them, Captain?" James asked. Elena stood up straight. "Tell them that humanity doesn't bow to anyone. Tell them we reject their claims, and we will defend our territory. Tell them that human space belongs to humans." James looked worried. "Captain, are you sure? Maybe we should contact Earth first and ask what to do." "There's no time," Elena said. "If we show weakness now, they'll think we're easy to conquer. Send the message." James's fingers moved over the keyboard. The computer translated Elena's words into the alien language and sent them to the Zephyrian ship. Elena watched the message fly through space on the screen. For a few minutes, nothing happened. The alien ship just floated there, its lights pulsing slowly. Elena began to wonder if they had received the message. Then everything changed. The smooth surface of the alien ship suddenly turned bright red. The gentle pulsing lights became fast, angry flashes. More alien ships appeared out of nowhere, popping into existence like soap bubbles. In seconds, Elena's single ship was surrounded by dozens of alien vessels. "Captain, we're getting messages from all over their fleet," James said, his voice full of fear. "The computer is translating them now," the screen filled with angry words. "War declared. Hostile species identified. Military response authorized. Prepare for battle." Elena felt sick. What had she done? She had wanted to show strength, but instead she had started a war. A war that humanity couldn't win. "Captain," said Dr. Sarah Kim, the ship's science officer, I'm reading massive energy signatures from their ships. Their weapons are charging. Elena looked out the window at the alien fleet. Each ship was bigger than her vessel. There were so many of them that they blocked out the stars. She thought about Earth's defenses, a few orbital stations, some patrol ships, basic weapons that fired metal bullets. How could they fight enemies with technology like this? "Get us out of here," Elena ordered. "Maximum speed back to Earth." The Discovery turned and flew away from the alien fleet as fast as it could go. Elena watched the enemy ships on her screen. They could have destroyed her ship easily, but they didn't. They just watched her leave. "Why aren't they following us?" Elena asked. Dr. Kim checked her instruments. "I think they're sending messages to other ships. Lots of messages, all across space." Elena understood. The aliens weren't chasing one small, human ship. They were organizing something much bigger. They were preparing for war. As the Discovery raced toward Earth, Elena sat in her chair and thought about what had happened. In just a few minutes, she had taken humanity from first contact to war with an alien empire. She had meant to protect her people, but instead she might have doomed them. "How long until we reach Earth?" she asked. 3 days at maximum speed," replied the pilot. 3 days to warn Earth. 3 days to prepare for a war they couldn't win. Elena looked out at the stars and wondered if she would ever see them again after the aliens came. Behind them, the Zephyrian fleet grew larger as more ships arrived. Red lights flashed across their hulls like angry eyes. The peaceful first contact that everyone on Earth had dreamed about had become their worst nightmare. Elena picked up the communication device to record a message for Earth. She had to tell them what was coming. She had to tell them that humanity was now at war with the galaxy. Her hands shook as she began to speak. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the UES Discovery. We have made contact with an alien species called the Zephyrian Collective. They have declared war on humanity. I repeat, we are at war. All Earth defenses should prepare for attack. The enemy has advanced technology and superior numbers. This is not a drill." As she sent the message toward Earth, Elena wondered if she had just sent humanity's death sentence through space. The war had begun, and it was all her fault. Admiral Chen Wei stood in the war room deep under the mountains of Colorado. The room buzzed with activity as people ran back and forth, carrying papers and shouting orders. Red lights flashed on the walls, and sirens wailed in the distance. Captain Rodriguez's message had reached Earth 12 hours ago, and the whole planet was in panic. "Give me the numbers again," Chen said to Colonel Martinez, who stood next to a large screen showing Earth's defenses. "We have 23 combat ships in total," Martinez said, reading from his tablet. 15 patrol boats, 6 frigates, and 2 destroyers. Our biggest weapons are nuclear missiles and railguns that fire metal slugs." Chen rubbed his tired eyes. He had been awake for 36 hours straight. "What about ground defenses?" "Orbital. Defense platforms around Earth, Luna, and Mars. Maybe 200 missiles total. Some laser systems for shooting down smaller targets." Chen looked at the screen showing pictures of the alien ships that Captain Rodriguez had sent. Each enemy vessel was at least 10 times bigger than Earth's largest ship. The aliens had weapons that could bend space and tear apart planets. Humanity had guns that shot pieces of metal. "Sir?" called Dr. Sarah Kim, who had just arrived from the Discovery. "I need to show you something important." Chen walked over to her. Dr. Kim looked exhausted and scared, but her eyes were bright with determination. "I've been studying the alien technology from our encounter," she said. "Their ships can appear and disappear instantly. They can move faster than light without using the jump gates we need. Their weapons use some kind of energy we don't understand." "So we're doomed," Chen said quietly. "Maybe not," Dr. Kim replied. "I think we have advantages they don't expect." Chen raised an eyebrow. "What advantages?" "They're more advanced than us in every way." Dr. Kim pulled up a new screen showing human history. Pictures of wars, inventions, and disasters flashed by. Look at how humans fight. We don't follow rules. We don't fight fair. We use everything we can find as weapons. She pointed to a picture of World War II. When the Nazis had better tanks, the Russians used Molotov cocktails made from bottles and gasoline. When the Americans fought in Vietnam, farmers with simple traps defeated the most powerful military in the world. Chen started to understand. You think we can use our creativity? Exactly, Dr. Kim said. These aliens seem very organized and civilized. They probably fight with honor and follow strict rules. But humans? We'll use anything. We'll turn civilian ships into bombs. We'll hide explosives in asteroids. We'll do things they would never think of. Chen walked to the center of the room and called for attention. Listen up, everyone. We're about to fight an enemy that's stronger, faster, and smarter than us. In any normal war, we would lose in minutes. But this isn't going to be a normal war. He pointed to the pictures of alien ships. These enemies are used to fighting other advanced species. They expect their opponents to use similar technology and tactics. They don't know how to fight humans. A young officer raised her hand. Sir, what do you mean? Chen smiled for the first time in hours. I mean, we're going to show them what happens when you mess with a species that evolved by fighting everything on a dangerous planet. We're going to use every dirty trick we know. Dr. Kim stepped forward. I'm recommending we start. Project Crazy Ivan immediately. What's Project Crazy Ivan? Asked Colonel Martinez. It's every insane idea our military has ever thought of but never used because it was too dangerous or too unpredictable, Dr. Kim explained. Ramming ships, nuclear mines, bioweapons, cyber attacks, psychological warfare, everything. Chen nodded. Do it. Contact every scientist, every engineer, every crazy inventor on Earth. Tell them to think of the most ridiculous ways to fight an advanced alien species. No idea is too stupid. Over the next few days, Earth became a giant weapons factory. In secret labs around the world, scientists worked on impossible projects. They built ships designed to explode and take enemies with them. They created computer viruses to confuse alien technology. They even trained soldiers to fight hand-to-hand. Combat in spacesuits. Dr. Kim worked with a team to turn civilian cargo ships into weapons. They filled them with nuclear bombs and programmed them to fly straight at enemy vessels. The ships looked harmless from the outside, but they were actually flying bombs. The aliens will scan these ships and see cargo containers, Dr. Kim explained to her team. They won't realize each container is full of explosives until it's too late. In another lab, engineers built special suits for soldiers. The suits looked like normal space gear, but they had hidden weapons and tools. Soldiers could cut through alien metal, hack alien computers, and even survive in space for hours. If our ships get boarded, these soldiers can turn the enemy ships into death traps, the chief engineer explained. Admiral Chen visited a training facility where soldiers practiced the strangest combat techniques ever invented. They learned how to fight in zero gravity using only knives and explosives. They practiced hiding in asteroid fields and attacking from ambush. They even learned how to use their own ships as guided missiles. This is insane, said one of the trainers. No civilized species would fight like this. That's exactly the point, Chen replied. We're not civilized when we're fighting for our lives. The most secret project was run by Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's top psychologist. She studied every piece of information about the aliens and tried to understand how their minds worked. They seem to value order and logic, she reported to Chen. They make careful plans and follow them exactly. They probably can't handle chaos and unpredictability. So we give them chaos, Chen said. Dr. Vasquez nodded. We create battle plans that make no sense. We attack when they expect us to retreat. We retreat when they expect us to attack. We make them think we're crazy. Maybe we are crazy, Chen said. That's our biggest weapon, Dr. Vasquez replied. As Earth prepared for war, messages came from other human colonies. Mars was building hidden missile bases. The asteroid miners were turning their equipment into weapons. even the peaceful research stations were preparing to fight. Captain Rodriguez arrived at Earth's command center 3 days after sending her warning. She looked tired and guilty, but Chen could see the determination in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Admiral," she said. "I started this war by accident." Chen put his hand on her shoulder. "You protected humanity's freedom. That's what any good captain would do. Now we finish what you started." Rodriguez nodded. "What are my orders?" "You're going to lead our first strike team," Chen said. "We're not waiting for them to attack Earth. We're going to hit them first with everything we've got." Rodriguez smiled. "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow," Chen replied. "And Captain, we're going to show these aliens why you should never start a fight with humans. We may not be the strongest or the smartest species in the galaxy, but we're definitely the craziest." As the sun set on Earth, thousands of people worked through the night preparing for the impossible. They were going to fight a war they couldn't win using weapons that shouldn't work against an enemy that was better than them in every way. But they were human, and humans had never been good at accepting the impossible. Fleet Commander Zix-9 floated in the center of the massive war room aboard the Collective's flagship. His blue skin pulsed with calm patterns as he studied the holographic display showing human space. Around him, representatives from 12 different alien species discussed the coming battle. "This should be simple," said General Koth 4, whose rocky body clicked as he moved. "The humans have primitive technology and only a few dozen ships. One of our dreadnoughts could end this war in an hour." Zix-9 nodded his elongated head. In his 300 years of military service, he had never seen such a one-sided conflict. The humans had fusion rockets, while the Collective had ships that could fold space. Human weapons fired metal bullets, while Collective forces used reality bending. "Energy beams. How many ships should we send?" asked Admiral Yes Prime, her tentacles swaying gently in the artificial water that surrounded her workstation. "A single battle group," Zix-9 replied. 12 ships should be more than enough. We don't want to seem like we're picking on a weak opponent." The other commanders agreed. The Collective had rules about warfare. They fought with honor and used only the force necessary to win. Bringing their full fleet against such a weak enemy would be embarrassing. "What do we know about their tactics?" asked General Koth 4. Commander Vel 8, the intelligence officer, activated a new display. "Their ships move in straight lines and fire projectile weapons. Very predictable. They seem to follow basic military formations that we studied centuries ago." Zix-9 found the whole situation rather sad. The humans seemed like a young species that had wandered into something too big for them to understand. Once they saw the power of Collective ships, they would surely surrender and ask for mercy. "Begin the operation," Zix-9 ordered. "Move to their nearest outpost and demonstrate our superiority. Once they understand they cannot win, we'll accept their surrender and end this foolishness." The Collective battle group jumped through space, appearing near Titan Station, humanity's furthest outpost. Zix-9 expected to find a few small human ships that would either run away or surrender immediately. Instead, he found something that confused him. "Commander," reported his sensor officer, "I'm detecting 37 human vessels, but they're not in any formation we recognize." Zix-9 looked at the display. The human ships were scattered randomly around the asteroid field near Titan. Some were moving toward his fleet, others were flying away, and a few seemed to be spinning in circles. "Are they malfunctioning?" he asked. "I don't think so, sir. They're sending us messages, but they don't make sense." The translation came through the speakers. "Come on, you ugly space bugs! Is that all you brought? My grandmother could fight better than you!" Zix-9's skin patterns shifted to show confusion. In all his years of warfare, no enemy had ever insulted his grandmother. Most species opened battles with formal challenges or strategic communications. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Target their largest ships first." The Collective vessels fired precise energy beams at the human ships. The first target, A large cargo vessel exploded exactly as expected. But then something strange happened. "Sir?" called the sensor officer. "The explosion created a massive electromagnetic pulse. Our targeting systems are having problems." Before Zix-9 could respond, the human ships began moving in the most chaotic pattern he had ever seen. Some flew straight at his fleet, others hid behind asteroids, and one actually seemed to be flying backwards while shooting. "Their tactics make no sense," said General Koth 4. "Are they trying to confuse us?" "Sir," shouted the communications officer, "one of their ships is ramming the Harmony's edge." Zix-9 watched in shock as a small human frigate flew directly into one of his cruisers. The impact should have destroyed the tiny human ship and barely scratched the collective vessel. Instead, the human ship exploded like a miniature sun, taking half the cruiser with it. "How is that possible?" Zix-9 demanded. "They filled their ship with nuclear explosives," reported the science officer. "The entire vessel was a flying bomb." Zix-9 felt his skin patterns shift to deep purple, showing extreme confusion. What kind of species turned their own ships into suicide weapons in the first few minutes of a battle? "Sir, we're receiving another human transmission," said the communications officer. "Put it through." A human voice filled the command center. "That's for calling us primitive. Who's primitive now, Tentacle Face?" Zix-9 realized the humans weren't just fighting. They were trying to make him angry. This violated every rule of civilized warfare he knew. The battle continued, but nothing went as planned. Human ships appeared from hiding spots inside asteroids, firing massive mining explosives that damaged collective vessels. When collective forces tried to board a human cargo ship, they found it filled with armed humans who fought like wild animals. "Commander," reported General Koth 4, "they're using their mining equipment as weapons. They've turned plasma cutters into ship-mounted cannons." "That's against regulations," Zix-9 protested. "Mining equipment isn't supposed to be used in warfare." "I don't think they care about regulations, sir. The worst moment came when a group of human fighters surrounded one of his destroyers. Instead of attacking the ship's weapons or engines like any sensible enemy would do, they started cutting random holes in the hull." "What are they doing?" Zix-9 asked. I think they're boarding us," replied the tactical officer. "Impossible. Those are civilian mining suits, not military armor, but the humans kept cutting their way inside. When collective security forces tried to stop them, the humans fought with crude weapons and explosive devices. They didn't follow any proper combat formation. They just attacked from every direction at once, screaming and throwing bombs. Within an hour, the humans had captured the destroyer by doing everything wrong according to military science. "Sir," said Admiral Yes Prime, "maybe we should request reinforcements." Zix-9 stared at the tactical display. His advanced battle group was losing to a bunch of humans flying mining ships and cargo vessels. Half his forces were damaged, one ship was captured, and the humans seemed to be enjoying themselves. "How are they winning?" he asked quietly. "Commander." Vel 8 checked his reports. "They're not following any known tactical patterns. Our battle computers can't predict their moves because they don't make logical sense. They're fighting like..." "Like what?" "Like they're insane, sir." Zix-9 thought about this. The collective had fought many wars against many species. But all those enemies had been civilized. They used proper strategy, followed rules of engagement, and tried to minimize their own losses. These humans seemed to treat war like a game. They took crazy risks, used weapons that weren't supposed to exist, and turned their own ships into bombs. They insulted their enemies, made jokes during battle, and fought with whatever they could find. "Send a message to Nexus Prime," Zix-9 ordered. "Tell them we need more ships." "How many more, sir?" Zix-9 looked at the display showing human ships still flying in impossible patterns and somehow winning battles they should have lost. "All of them," he said. "Send all of them." As the message traveled across space to collective headquarters, Zix-9 wondered what kind of species humanity really was. They seemed to break every rule of civilized warfare and somehow make it work. For the first time in his long military career, Fleet Commander Zix-9 was starting to understand what it felt like to be afraid of an enemy that refused to fight properly. The humans were teaching the galaxy a new lesson. Sometimes the best way to win a war was to be too crazy to lose. Captain Elena Rodriguez floated through the broken corridors of the captured collective destroyer, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor. Around her, human engineers worked frantically to understand the alien technology. Sparks flew from damaged panels, and the emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the walls. "Captain, you need to see this," called Sergeant Williams from the ship's bridge. His voice echoed through the empty hallways. Elena pulled herself through a hole that her boarding team had cut in the wall. The alien bridge was a beautiful mess of curved surfaces and flowing lines. But now it was filled with human equipment, cables, and jury-rigged computers. "What did you find?" Elena asked. Williams pointed to a large display screen that his team had managed to activate. "We cracked their communication system, the messages flying back and forth across their fleet. Captain, they're scared." Elena looked at the translated messages scrolling across the screen. "Unpredictable enemy tactics. Request immediate reinforcements. Human forces using non-standard warfare methods. Cannot predict their battle patterns. They don't understand how we fight," Elena said, smiling. Over the past month, the war had spread across 12 star systems. What started as a small conflict had grown into the largest military disaster in collective history. Human forces, outnumbered 1,000 to 1, were somehow winning battles they had no right to win. Elena's communicator buzzed. "Captain Rodriguez, this is Admiral Chen. Report to the war room immediately." Elena made her way to the human command center they had set up in the captured ship's cargo bay. Admiral Chen stood in front of a holographic display showing the entire war zone. Red dots marked collective ships. Blue dots showed human forces. "Elena, look at this," Chen said, pointing to the display. 3 more collective fleets arrived yesterday. They now have over 2,000 ships in our space." Elena studied the map. "How many ships do we have?" 43, Chen replied. "We've lost some, but we've also captured 6 alien vessels." Elena did the math in her head. The humans were still outnumbered nearly 50 to 1. "How are we still alive?" Dr. Sarah Kim stepped forward from behind a bank of computers. "Because they still don't understand what they're fighting. Look at this battle report from the Proxima system." The display changed to show a recent engagement. A single human mining ship had faced off against 3 collective cruisers. According to the laws of physics and military science, the human ship should have been destroyed in seconds. Instead, the mining ship had used its cargo of raw uranium to create a dirty nuclear explosion that disabled all 3 enemy vessels. Then human boarding teams had captured the ships using construction tools and improvised weapons. "They keep expecting us to fight like a civilized military," Dr. Kim explained. "They deploy their ships in perfect formations and use textbook tactics. Meanwhile, we're throwing everything we have at them in ways they never imagined." Elena nodded. She had seen it herself during the boarding action. The alien soldiers were well-trained and had superior weapons, but they followed rigid procedures. When humans started attacking from unexpected directions using welding torches and mining explosives, the aliens couldn't adapt fast enough. "But Captain," said Chen, "we have a bigger problem. Intelligence reports that the collective is mobilizing their entire military. Every species in their alliance is sending ships. We're looking at over 10,000 vessels within the next month." Elena felt her stomach drop. Even with their unconventional tactics, humanity couldn't fight the entire galaxy. "There's something else," Dr. Kim added. "We've been monitoring their communications. The different alien species are starting to argue with each other." She brought up a new display showing intercepted messages between collective commanders. Elena read through the translations with growing amazement. "The Zephyrians want to use planet-killing weapons to end the war quickly," Dr. Kim explained. But the Altarians refuse because they consider that dishonorable. The Vegan Confederacy thinks the whole war is a waste of resources. They're not fighting as a united force anymore. Elena began to understand. We're not just fighting their military. We're breaking apart their alliance. Exactly, said Chen. These species have been allies for centuries. They're used to fighting enemies that behave predictably, but humans are making them question everything they know about warfare. Elena looked at the battle reports again. In system after system, human forces were doing impossible things. Cargo ships were destroying battleships. Mining equipment was being turned into weapons of mass destruction. Civilian volunteers were boarding alien vessels with nothing but hand tools and determination. Admiral, Elena said, I have an idea. What if we stop playing defense? Chen raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I mean, we take this war to them. We've been reacting to their attacks, but what if we attacked first? What if we hit their home? Systems? Dr. Kim pulled up a star map showing collective space. That's impossible, Captain. Their core worlds are protected by orbital fortresses and massive fleets. Elena smiled. That's what they expect us to think. But what if we don't attack? Their military targets? What if we go after something they can't defend because they never thought anyone would be crazy enough to attack it? She pointed to several locations on the map. Trade routes, civilian shipping, supply convoys. We turn their own cargo ships into weapons against them. Chen stared at the map. You want to steal their supply ships and use them as bombs? Why not? Elena replied. We've already shown that any ship can be a weapon if you're creative enough. Imagine their reaction when their own vessels start exploding in their core systems. Over the next week, human strike teams began the most audacious military operation in galactic history. Small groups of humans infiltrated collective supply lines, stealing cargo ships and turning them into guided weapons. The aliens were completely unprepared for this new phase of the war. Their civilian shipping had no military escorts, because no civilized species had ever attacked non-combat vessels. When human teams started hijacking supply convoys, the collective didn't know how to respond. Sir, reported the communications officer aboard Zix-9's flagship, our logistics network is under attack. The humans are stealing our own ships and using them against us. Zix-9's skin patterns had permanently shifted to deep purple since the war began. How many ships have they taken? Over 100, sir, and they're not just stealing them. They're filling them with explosives and flying them into our space stations. Zix-9 watched the tactical display as another collective supply depot exploded. The humans had somehow turned a medical supply ship into a massive bomb and flown it straight into the station's docking bay. They're using our own cargo against us, said General Koth 4. Medical supplies, food shipments, even civilian passenger vessels. Everything is becoming a weapon in their hands. This is not war, protested Admiral Yes Prime. This is chaos. Yes, said Zix-9 quietly, and we're losing. Across the galaxy, other collective commanders were having similar conversations. The human strategy of turning everything into a weapon was spreading panic through their ranks. No ship was safe, no supply line was secure, and no defensive position was strong enough to stop an enemy that fought without rules. But the real breakthrough came when Captain Rodriguez led a boarding team onto a collective command ship. Instead of trying to capture it, her team hacked into the ship's communication system and broadcast a message to every alien vessel in the sector. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the human fleet. Her voice echoed through hundreds of alien ships. We didn't want this war. We're just defending ourselves. But if you keep attacking us, we're going to keep showing you what happens when you mess with a species that learned to fight by surviving on a death world. The message continued. You think we're primitive because we use nuclear bombs and metal, bullets, but we turn those primitive weapons into ship killers. You think we're weak because we have small ships, but we turned our small ships into guided missiles. You have better technology, but we have something you've forgotten how to use, the willingness to do whatever it takes to survive. The broadcast ended with Elena's final words. We're not going to surrender, and we're not going to fight fair. So you have a choice. You can keep sending more ships for us to capture and turn into weapons, or you can find a way to end this war before we decide to visit your home worlds. The message spread through the collective fleet like wildfire. For the first time since the war began, alien commanders started asking themselves a simple question. Was this fight really worth it? As human forces continued their impossible campaign, the galaxy began to realize they were dealing with something unprecedented. Humanity wasn't just winning battles, they were changing the very nature of war itself. Dr. Sarah Kim stared at the computer screen in disbelief. After 3 months of brutal warfare, she had finally found it. The source of the terrible mistake that had started the war. Her hands shook as she read through the translation algorithms one more time, checking and double-checking her work. This can't be right, she whispered to herself. Around her, the research lab hummed with activity. Earth's best linguists and computer specialists worked frantically to decode captured collective communications. But what Sarah had discovered would change everything. Admiral Chen, she called into her communicator. I need you in Lab 7 immediately, and bring Captain Rodriguez. 20 minutes later, Admiral Chen and Captain Elena Rodriguez stood behind Sarah's workstation. Elena looked tired after her latest mission capturing a collective supply depot. Chen's face showed the strain of commanding a war that humanity was somehow winning despite impossible odds. What did you find, Sarah? Chen asked. Sarah pulled up the original first contact message on her screen. I've been going through the translation software that we used during Elena's first meeting with the aliens. I found something terrible. She pointed to lines of code scrolling across the display. Our computer made a mistake, a huge mistake. Elena leaned forward. What kind of mistake? The aliens never declared war on us, Sarah said quietly. They never claimed dominance over human space. They were trying to welcome us to their alliance. The room fell silent, except for the humming of computers. Elena felt her blood turn cold as Sarah explained what really happened. The Zephyrian language uses complex patterns to show respect and friendship, Sarah continued. When they said they claimed dominance over this sector, they meant they were offering to protect us as the dominant species in this area. They were inviting us to join them as equals. Elena sat down heavily in a nearby chair. So, when I told them we rejected their claims, you were basically telling them to go to hell, Sarah finished. And when you said humans would defend their territory, they thought you were declaring war on the entire collective. Admiral Chen rubbed his forehead. So this whole war started because of a translation error? The worst translation error in, human history, Sarah confirmed. The aliens were trying to be friendly, and we accidentally told them we wanted to fight the entire galaxy. Elena felt sick. All those people who died, all those ships we destroyed, it was all for nothing? Not for nothing, said a new voice from the doorway. They turned to see Dr. Elena Vasquez, the psychologist who had been studying alien behavior patterns. She walked into the lab carrying a tablet full of intercepted collective communications. I've been monitoring their internal discussions, Dr. Vasquez said. Yes, the war started by accident, but something amazing has happened because of it. She activated her tablet and projected a holographic display showing message traffic between different alien species. Look at these communications from the past week. The collective isn't just arguing about how to fight us. They're questioning their entire way of life. Elena read through the translated messages. The Altarian Military Command is recommending a complete review of standard battle tactics. Zephyrian scientists request access to human innovation methods. Vegan Confederacy suggests incorporating creative unpredictability into their training programs. They're not angry with us anymore, Dr. Vasquez explained. They're fascinated. For centuries, their civilization has been peaceful and orderly. They've forgotten how to think outside the box, but humans have reminded them what's possible when you refuse to accept limitations. Admiral Chen looked at the display with growing amazement. Are you saying they want to learn from us? More than that, Dr. Vasquez replied. I think they want to become more like us, not violent but creative, not chaotic, but willing to try new ideas. Sarah pulled up another screen showing the latest battle reports. That would explain why they've stopped sending reinforcements and why their attacks have become less coordinated. Elena studied the tactical information. Over the past 2 weeks, collective forces had become strangely passive. They still fought when attacked, but they weren't launching new offensives. Some of their commanders had even started copying human tactics. What do we do now? Elena asked. Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the research station. Red lights flashed as the emergency communication system activated. All personnel, this is Admiral Chen. His voice echoed through the speakers. We have a situation. A collective fleet has just appeared in Earth orbit, but they're not attacking. They're requesting permission to talk. Elena and the others rushed to the command center. Through the massive windows, they could see alien ships floating peacefully above Earth. The vessels that had seemed so threatening months ago now looked almost elegant against the backdrop of space. Sir, reported the communications officer, their lead ship is requesting a meeting with Captain Rodriguez specifically. Elena felt her heart racing. With me? Why? According to their message, the officer continued, Fleet Commander Zix-9 wants to meet the human who started this war. He says he has something important to discuss. 6 hours later, Elena found herself aboard a neutral space station halfway between Earth and the collective fleet. The meeting room was simple and clean, with large windows showing both human and alien ships waiting peacefully in space. Fleet Commander Zix-9 entered the room, and Elena was surprised by how different he looked from what she had imagined. His blue skin showed calm patterns, and his large eyes seemed intelligent and curious rather than threatening. Captain Rodriguez, Zix-9 said in perfect English, I have been wanting to meet you for a long time. Elena stood up respectfully. Commander, Zix-9, I owe you an apology. This whole war started because of a misunderstanding. Zix-9's skin patterns shifted to show what Elena's translator identified as amusement. Yes, we discovered that 3 weeks ago when our linguists finally cracked your language properly. But, Captain, I am not here for an apology. Then, why are you here? Zix-9 activated a holographic display showing battles from the past 3 months. Elena watched herself and her crews doing impossible things, turning cargo ships into weapons, capturing alien vessels with mining equipment, fighting entire fleets with nothing but determination and creativity. I am here to thank you, Zix-9 said. Elena blinked in confusion. Thank me? For 3 centuries, the collective has been at peace, Zix-9 explained. We became comfortable, predictable, and perhaps a little boring. We followed the same rules, used the same tactics, and never questioned our methods. He pointed to the display showing human forces in action. Then you appeared and broke every rule we knew. You turned war into art, chaos into strategy, and defeat into victory. You reminded us that there is always another way to solve a problem. Elena began to understand. You're saying the war was good for you? Not the violence, Zix-9 said quickly, but the challenge, the need to think differently. My people have started questioning everything. How we fight, how we explore, how we solve problems. Young Zephyrians are studying human history to learn about creativity and innovation. Elena smiled. So what happens now? Zix-9's skin patterns shifted to show hope. Now we make the original offer properly. The collective would like to invite humanity to join our alliance, not as subjects, but as teachers. We want to learn your ways while sharing our technology. And if we say no, then we say goodbye and wish you well. Zix-9 replied. But, Captain, I hope you will consider it. The galaxy has become a more interesting place since humans arrived. We would like to keep it that way. Elena thought about everything that had happened. The war that started with a translation error had somehow become a bridge between two very different ways of thinking. I'll need to discuss this with my people, Elena said. Of course, Zix-9 replied. But while you decide, perhaps, you would like to see something. He activated another display showing alien ships throughout collective space. But these ships looked different. Instead of the perfect flowing designs Elena had seen before, they now had rough patches, asymmetrical parts, and what looked like improvised modifications. Our engineers have been experimenting with human-style design, Zix-9 explained. They are building ships that are unpredictable and adaptable instead of perfect and predictable. Elena laughed. You're learning to build ugly but effective ships? We are learning that ugly can be beautiful if it works, Zix-9 replied, his patterns showing amusement. 3 months later, Elena stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony, the first ship built jointly by human and collective engineers. It was a strange vessel, part alien elegance, part human practicality. The alien technology made it incredibly advanced, but human modifications made it adaptable and unpredictable. Captain, called Lieutenant Park from his station. We're receiving a transmission from the Proxima colony. Put it through. The main screen showed Dr. Sarah Kim, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the collective. Behind her, human and alien scientists worked together on projects that would have been impossible just months before. Elena, you need to see this, Sarah said excitedly. The joint research team just figured out how to combine our nuclear weapons. With their space-folding technology, Elena raised an eyebrow. Should I be worried?